Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Sun.
The Rays offense has erupted on the road, averaging over 10 runs per game in a 3-game sweep over the Blue Jays. Tonight, Tampa Bay motors into Detroit, where right-hander Matt Andriese goes to the hill against Miguel Cabrera and the Tigers. We greet you from Comerica Park in downtown Detroit, Michigan. The Rays coming in to play the Tigers, fresh off a sweep over the Toronto Blue Jays, in which they scored 31 runs and hit 8 home runs. Tonight, with a record of 19-19, they turn their attention to the Detroit Ball Club. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to an evening of Rays baseball with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. Great to have you aboard. Well, with all the offense coming out of Toronto, I thought we'd start tonight talking about pitching, because Matt Andriese on the mound tonight has been as good as any pitcher can be through his first 2 starts.
How about it? I mean, 16 innings, he's given up 1 earned run, but you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody that is going to throw the ball better than Matt Andriese did his last time out against the Oakland Athletics. How about this? A 2-hit shutout, didn't walk anybody, 5 strikeouts. Love the way that he is commanding the mound right now. Dare I say, a little bit of swagger out there, walking around very confident in his stuff, very confident in what he's doing right now, and it's showing in the results. He's getting them in a big way for this Rays ball club. One guy you're going to have to keep an eye on tonight, and there are a lot of hitters in this lineup, but Nick Castellanos leads the American League with a .350 average to go along with 8 home runs, 30 runs driven in. He's a very aggressive hitter. He's only walked 8 times on the season. And the interesting thing about Castellanos, the majority of his damage against right-handed pitching. He's hitting .396 against righties, so the Rays will have their work cut out for him not only tonight, but for this entire series.
And having said all that, we cannot overlook the Rays offense, which would not be denied in Toronto against the Blue Jays. And when we come back, Rich Hollenberg takes a closer look at that Rays lineup top to bottom.
Fox Sports Sun. The Rays looking to move one game over 500 as they visit the Detroit Tigers from Comerica Park in Detroit, game one of this three-game series. The Rays offense averaged 5 runs a game last week against the Oakland A's, showing signs of starting to click this 2016 season. But no one could have expected the offensive onslaught that we witnessed north of the border in Toronto against the Blue Jays. Take a look at our Toyota Inside Look. You'll see what I mean. These numbers bear mentioning from what you heard Dwayne Stats talking about earlier. 31 runs, 44 hits, 8 of those home runs in the sweep of the Blue Jays. Steven Souza Jr., he's been right in the middle of that offensive mix, and here's how he assesses the offensive performance.
I think it just kind of solidifies what we all talked about in spring training, the offseason, of the capability of this offense and the potential it has. Now we got to go out as professionals and be more consistent with it, and into a new series, hopefully we can carry it forward.
A team record for hits, extra base hits in a 3-game set, 31 runs, the most ever scored in a 3-game series on the road. They go back to work on the other side of this break. 3.5 minutes to go till first pitch. The Rays, the Tigers, the first of 3 from the D. Dwayne and PA with the call next.
We welcome you back to Detroit. Comfortable evening for baseball. A little overcast, but the temperature 68 degrees for the first game of this 3-game series. We'll take a look at the Rays lineup tonight. A little different look presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Steven Souza Jr. is going to lead off, followed by Brad Miller and Evan Longoria. Steve Pearce cleanup. Corey Dickerson the DH in front of Desmond Jennings in left. Logan Morrison hits 7th, Kevin Kiermaier 8th, and Hank Conger will catch and bat 9th.
Now taking the mound tonight for the Detroit Tigers is going to be right-hander Anibal Sanchez, and it has been a rocky beginning for Mr. Sanchez. 8 starts, a 3-4 record, 5.91 earned run average coming off a start. He gave up 4 earned runs in 6 innings against Baltimore to take a loss, and he's actually given up 4 earned runs or more in 5 of his 8 starts, including the last 3. Let's take a look at that Detroit Tiger defense, see how it's going to line up behind him here tonight. Brought to you by Golden Diamond Source. In the outfield left to right, we have Justin Upton, Cameron Maben, and J.D. Martinez. And across that infield, third to first, Nick Castellanos, Jose Iglesias, Ian Kinsler, and Miguel Cabrera, with James McCann behind the plate.
And here is Steven Souza Jr. for the third time in his major league career. He's in that leadoff spot. Goes after the first pitch from Sanchez and starts this game by fouling it out of play. So we are underway. 10 minutes past the hour.
Got to be an exciting day for Mr. Souza Jr. See your name written right at the top of the lineup card.
And he has come out swinging. There's a shot deep into left. Upton will watch this one get out of here. Home run for Steven Souza Jr. And the Rays break out in front 1-0. Well, he must like that number 1 spot. Belting his 9th home run of the year.
I'll tell you what he liked was that pitch. You want to talk about a guy's eyes bulging out of his head. This was a hanging breaking ball, middle of the plate. Yikes. He jumped all over it.
Rays come into this game leading the major leagues in home runs as a team. And that's home run number 59 for this club. Brad Miller takes a look at one, too low. So Steven Souza Jr. puts the Rays out in front. 2-0.
Now you could see the grip, just no break.
It's a strike to Miller. So the Rays, who scored all those runs in Toronto, get a long one to start this game and this series in Detroit. Out of all of the offense and the home runs, the Rays had 8 home runs up there. Souza did not hit one. There's ball 4 to Miller. But he has one here in this series. And now Miller draws the base on balls. Last home run before that one came in Seattle in front of his friends and family up there when he hit one off Wade Miley. He connects off Anibal Sanchez tonight.
Well, and this beginning for Sanchez has been par for the course. Home run prone. He was always susceptible to the long ball. And walks. Walks have killed Anibal Sanchez this year. His walk rate more than double his career. Too many base runners. Going to give up a lot more runs.
There's Evan Longoria. Evan takes a pitch inside. Evan 4 of 13 in his prior matchups against Sanchez, and carries a 7-game hitting streak into this game. Our Buick GMC big matchup with his 7-game hitting streak, hitting .379 for the life of that. Another move to first, and Miller dives back in head first. It's Longoria. Hits for the man at first, and nobody out, a run home. He's under this one and skies it to center. Cameron Maben is out there waiting for it. That'll be the first out.
Boy, he was just a hair too quick on that swing. 89-mile-an-hour fastball. If that thing's 91, it may be gone.
Well, this is a great venue for Longoria as well. He's hit well over 300 here. 314 in his career in this ballpark. We saw how well that worked out for Desmond Jennings up in Toronto. Sometimes they're just parks where you see the ball better, you feel more comfortable.
Well, they got that interesting batter's eye out in center field. You know, a lot of shrubbery.
One strike the count. There it is. Steve Pearce up here.
You know, and they had to actually move the fences in here And even moving them in, it's still, 345, jutting all the way out to 420. Not exactly the most hitter-friendly of parks.
Fly ball lifted into right. It's J.D. Martinez. 2 gone now with Miller still at first. Remember when Juan Gonzalez came up here when this park first opened?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just Death Valley for him.
And he left $140 million on the table. Did not re-sign. They wanted to re-sign him, but he's thinking, I'm not with the fences the way they are. Then they move him in, and he never ends up recouping that money. That was, well, I'll never forget that. I don't think you ever leave that kind of money on the table, do you?
Not these days. See, there's the fence a little lower and in front of the bullpen. You used to have to hit it up into the stands to get it out of here when this park first opened back in 2000.
I mean, when you look at the original dimensions, that's ridiculous how far that is.
Spacious and then some.
Yep. We better have some outfielders that can run and cover ground, or you'll be giving up triples at a very high rate. In fact, I think last year the Tigers led baseball in triples offensively. It's so big out there in the gaps.
A ball, 2 strikes to Corey Dickerson. The DH tonight for the Rays. Dickerson got into the act Tuesday in the 12-2 win for the Rays with a couple of hits, including a double and a run scored. Sanchez again goes to first on Miller.
Paying him a lot of attention over there, thinking maybe the Rays with a 1-run lead here try to steal Miller to get into scoring position.
And again, Cabrera keeping the tag on him just in case a hand, or in some cases a foot, might just for a split second leave the bag.
Well, this Tiger team, they've given up the second most amount of stolen bases in the American League this year. That's why everybody on high alert.
Miller goes. The pitch is fouled out of play. And the count holds at a ball, 2 strikes.
Now, do you send Brad Miller there because you're going to send him anyway, or because they pay so much attention to him, you're like, you're almost telling me I should run? Paying an awful lot of attention.
There he goes again, and the pitch hit on the ground, fair. By the bag at third and up the left field line. They're going to wave Miller home, and he will score, and the Rays are up 2-0. How about that? With Miller breaking, Dickerson hit it just fair up that left field line for a double.
A flick of the wrist was all it was. There's Brad Miller off and running, and look at Corey Dickerson. Just flip the wrist, keep it fair, and no way you're going to stop Brad Miller from coming home to score the Rays' second run. That's manufacturing a run.
Well, the Rays did show some signs of manufacturing runs, in that second game in Toronto. They hit so many home runs. It's kind of nice to see that as part of their arsenal as well. Desmond Jennings takes a pitch upstairs, 1-0. Because there are going to be times, and we all have seen it before, we know the season, a long process, and there are going to be times when somehow you're going to have to be creative in scoring runs.
Yeah, the home runs will dry up for a time. You can't live on it. Nice to have, nice to be able to go out and it's not like the Rays rely on just a couple of guys too. The whole lineup basically can go deep, and it's nice to have that, but you cannot be one-dimensional.
Yeah, to have all these home runs and no one really on the leaderboard in home runs,
no.
But up and down the lineup, a good distribution of power.
And these guys realize that. You know, when you talk to them, they understand these home runs are nice, but we need to get them over, get them in. You know, we need to have those kind of innings too. And boy, if they're able to do that, this offense could be capable of really big things where the first month and a half you wouldn't have said that.
Upstairs to Jennings. He's looking at a count of 2 balls and 2 strikes. Home run Souza, walk to Miller, and he has scored as well on the 2-out double by Corey Dickerson. Desmond fouled it back. Jennings coming out of that good series in Toronto, just comfortable in that ballpark, and interestingly said he was more relaxed and maybe didn't try as hard, and better things happened for him. Maybe you grip that bat a little too tight sometimes.
Yeah, you know, you do. That's exactly right. Press a little bit.
A little nubber to the right side. He's going to race Sanchez to the bag, and he beat him. Safe at first base. Dickerson goes to third, and Jennings has an infield hit.
Boy, sloppy defense there. And Desmond Jennings hustling up the line. You know, he sees that play happening out in front of him, knows he's got a chance to get to the bag. Ball wasn't hit hard. Cabrera had to move for it, and now it's a race to first base. And there you go, a little nub. Flip just didn't have enough mustard on it.
Tigers taking a moment to see if they wanted to maybe have that play looked at, and they've decided not to. So the inning continues with Logan Morrison stepping in. Logan coming off a 3-hit game Wednesday. The pitch is down. Another opportunity with 2 gone. Morrison lines it into right. That's going to be in there. Dickerson scores. Jennings goes to third. It's going to be a base hit and a run batted in for Morrison. Rays make it a 3-run first. And boy, it feels good to see Morrison pick up hits and runs batted in.
Get that first one out of the way. It takes you how long to get the first one, and now it's every game. Now it's every game. You just keep popping them out. He gets this one out of the way. A fastball just above the belt. Not enough velo to get it by him. He smokes it out into right field, and the Rays just continue to churn through this lineup.
So Morrison's aboard at first. Jennings over at third. Yeah, Morrison got his first RBI of the year Tuesday in his 87th at bat. 1 short of the club record, a notorious record held by Jose Molina. So Morrison chipping in tonight. Here's Kevin Kiermaier. There's a pitch in there for a strike. It's a ball and a strike. One now to Kiermaier. Disappeared on him, and he's behind 1-2.
Now the key for Anibal Sanchez, and we've not seen it here in this inning, is he's got to change speeds. He needs to move the ball around the strike zone, cannot be predictable, and cannot pitch from behind. Too many hittable pitches at that point. He's had a lot of walks.
Runner breaks, pitch up and away, throw down in front of the bag. Iglesias taking the peg. So Morrison moves up to second as Kiermaier has a 2-2 count.
The Rays get base runners, continue to get base runners. This is going to be a track meet. Logan Morrison, not known as a base stealer, but you see Sanchez with that little hitch in his delivery, that little turn, takes some time. The Tigers have given up a ton of stolen bases.
And a little bit wide right there. Well, you've got 3 runs home, and it's not being greedy trying to pick up 2 more.
No.
Not against the offense that the Tigers run at you. So they have Morrison out there in scoring position along with Jennings, and a full count on Kiermaier. This will be the 30th pitch here in the first inning. And Kiermaier is called out on strikes on a pitch down at the knees. Rays leave 2, but they score 3 times. The home run by Steven Souza Jr. started it all, his 9th home run of the year. And the Rays will go into the bottom of the first, holding a 3-run lead. Put up a 3 spot in their half of the inning. Line up for Detroit, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Ian Kinsler leads it off. J.D. Martinez and Miguel Cabrera. Victor Martinez, Nick Castellanos, Justin Upton, Cameron Maben, then James McCann and Jose Iglesias to complete the lineup put together by the Tigers and Brad Ausmus.
Well, Matt Andriese, the beneficiary of the Rays' quick first inning. He didn't need much help his last time out. 2-hit shutout against Oakland.
Kinsler has been on a bit of a tear. Takes the first pitch down and away out of the zone for a ball. He's 10th in the league in home runs, or in average, and has 10 home runs. Hitting .319, 10 homers, and 24 runs batted in.
I'll tell you the other thing that he's done is homered in 4 straight games. And he is he hits off his back foot. He's got that uppercut swing, and he loves fastballs middle in. And you can see where the Rays, when Fox Tracks pops back up there, where they're pitching him. Stay down and away, down and away.
Fly ball, not too deep to center. And Kiermaier's there. 1 away.
You know, that's the great thing about the Rays pitching staff, and we'll get back to that here in a second as we set the Rays defense for you. Brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. In that outfield left to right, we've got Jennings, Kiermaier, and Souza Jr. And across the infield third to first, Longoria, Miller, Pearson, Morrison with Hank Conger behind the plate. And all I was going to say was, you know, the Rays do a great job of putting together game plans, but those are only as good as the guy that can execute them. And the Rays have pitchers up and down this roster that can execute a game plan.
J.D. Martinez, another tough offensive player, takes the pitch for a ball. We mentioned how this Detroit lineup can be dangerous. They have in this lineup 3 of the top 10 hitters in the American League, and one of them is not Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah, he really hasn't gotten it going to his standards quite yet. You're right. Well, they led Major League Baseball, all of Major League Baseball in team batting average a year ago. Right back up near the top this year.
We have Kinsler, who's 10th, Victor Martinez, who's 5th, Castellanos leading the league in hitting. Tap foul, it's 2-2. Matt Andriese, 26 years old. So good against the Angels, even better against Oakland. The count is full. And J.D. Martinez is out of there.
That looked like that might have been that changeup too from Matt Andriese. You know, he can manipulate that pitch. Yeah, I think that's exactly what that was. That changeup, he can get it to almost sink straight down. He'll cut it at times. It's a pitch a lot of times you'll see come out of his hand and you'll think slider, and it's actually a changeup.
You know, his delivery is pretty interesting too. You can imagine what it looks like, especially to a right-handed hitter. Here's Miguel Cabrera.
And we had that great camera angle back at Tropicana Field when you're directly behind the mound. He's over on the first base side of the rubber, but he lands completely on the other side of the rubber. It gives you a little bit of crossfire action. Just adds to the deception.
It's a chop. Oops, in between Miller and Pierce, and it deflects into shallow center. Throw back to first. Kiermaier with a quick toss over there. And Cabrera's back in. Well, the Rays had the shift on, and it appeared there was a little indecision there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Everybody pulled around to that side. Brad Miller and Steve Pierce. You see Pierce directly behind second base, close to it. And then right here, who's got it? That's Brad Miller's ball the whole way. And you see him kind of almost like a half reach. You could sense Pierce was close.
That'll be an error charged to Miller, his 3rd of the year. And it will get Victor Martinez up there.
That's the first error for a Rays shortstop in the last, well, now 22 games. How about that? They were on quite a run. Most of that being the work of Brad Miller, who's been fantastic out there.
Victor Martinez. First pitch is a strike. Martinez tough against the entire American League, especially tough it seems against Rays pitching. You can see his career numbers, a .357 average off Rays pitching. Switch hitter, and especially tough from the left side.
You know, he's so balanced at the plate. He's got good plate coverage, has a real good idea of how hitter or pitchers want to attack him. And he makes quick adjustments, both him and Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah, he's a very smart hitter. Lifts it the other way for Jennings in left, who's there waiting. And Andriese pitches around the error, leaving a man. We're at the end of an inning. On to the second. 3-0 Rays. On Fox Sports Sun is brought to you by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. By St. Luke's Cataract and Laser Institute. World-class care right in Tampa Bay. By your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places. And by Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. When cancer strikes, strike back with CyberKnife. Rays with a 3-run lead. We're headed into the second inning, and Hank Conger, the Rays catcher, leads off. The pitch from Sanchez is in for a strike. Conger hitting 170 right now. Chases the pitch up this time, out of the zone. Down 0-2.
Well, you see it up. It doesn't have a lot of velocity to it. That one obviously way out of the zone, but Sanchez just has not been sharp with his stuff.
This one on the other end low. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know, the changeups have been inconsistent. The breaking balls have been rolling, not sharp tilt break.
Conger's out on strikes. He went back up to get him.
Well, he did a great job there of changing eye levels. You know, he let a changeup go way up in the zone. Saw the swing, then made the adjustment below the zone. Didn't get it. Comes right back up with the fastball. That's smart pitching by Sanchez.
Now we go to the top of the order. Steven Souza Jr. Souza got down 0-1 in the first inning and then hit one out of here to left. You tend to see a lot of fly balls with Sanchez out there. Way up this time, 1-1.
That's why he's prone to this. A lot of balls in the air. Some are going to find their way over the wall. Sometimes on the second pitch of the game.
2 balls and a strike. And that'll even the count. 2-2, getting a chase there on the pitch down.
If he's going to be able to keep the Rays offense at bay, that pitch is going to have to play a huge role.
And there's a low liner Grabbed by Castellanos, throw to first, not in time. And the call down at third by Chris Conroy is that it was short hop. That was not a catch, and so there's a base hit for Souza.
I'll tell you something else that's been impressive with this Rays team offensively is the guys that are getting out of the box and running hard from the get-go. I mean, everybody giving max effort, really pushing each other. And Souza Jr. able to beat that out.
You know, and here's a great example of what Souza can bring to a lineup. Power, first inning home run, then his speed helps him beat that play at first base, so he has what turns out to be an infield hit.
Long strider.
And now he's on the mind of Sanchez.
And why wouldn't he be? I mean, the way that Logan Morrison was able to pick up that stolen base, Brad Miller starting him led to a run, and the Tigers have been susceptible to the stolen base. So you better believe all these pitchers probably on edge.
So Miller fouling a pitch out of play. Last year the opposition 15 of 19 running against Sanchez. And the Rays have a steal tonight. And Souza with speed at first right now. Starting to stop by Souza. The pitch is up. And Sanchez was a little quicker on the delivery to the plate that time. Almost a quick pitch out of the stretch.
And look where the pitch was. You know, that's one thing that can end up happening. If you rush it too much, your arm doesn't get into its proper release point. You leave pitches up in the zone, but trying anything you can to try to slow the Rays down.
Again, a move to first on Souza. Either Souza was just trying to time him up prior to that last pitch, or was going and then saw the quick pitch, because he started and stopped, made a little move there and stopped, and the pitch is down. 2-1.
Well, you end up spending so much time worrying about the guy over at first base that you're not making quality pitches to home plate.
And the Rays don't mind that either.
No.
Souza's going this time. Pitch is up. It's a strike, and the throw is a strike as well. Iglesias puts the tag on him.
Throw is on the third base side of the bag. The tag by Iglesias, that's what gets this done. Watch how quick he gets the tag down. I mean, snap tag. He had to go a long way.
Now it's a strike.
Boy, that's a great job by Iglesias.
So the Rays lose the base runner on the caught stealing. It's 2-2 to Miller. Down and in. Now the count is full.
You think Logan Morrison is saying, hey, let me show you how you do this?
Yeah. Sit down here with me, son. We'll talk about it.
Tell you how to get in safely. With this group, they probably do.
Strike three called at the knees. Miller caught looking, and the Rays get a base hit, lose him on the caught stealing. Do not score to an inning and a half. The Rays lead 3-0. At Nick Castellanos, the Toyota keys to success. Among the largest increase in average from one year to the next. Castellanos last year hit .255, a career average of .257, and he starts tonight leading the league, hitting .350. There's a cut and a miss, strike one. Castellanos, young third baseman. He's 23 years old, out of Davie, Florida. And he takes strike two. He had been bothered greatly with breaking stuff. The slider away was a problem for him against right-handed pitching. And it was a real battle. He's been different this year.
A lot different, especially, I mean, against righties, and you see Andres goes back to it there. Started him off with that pitch, but almost hitting 400, 396 against righties this year.
Yeah, he hit .230 against right-handed pitching a year ago.
He's right on top of the plate, trying to make sure he can cover everything. That's the other thing. If you're able to get ahead of him, you can get him to chase because he doesn't walk, does not walk. How about that? That's not the norm.
No, that's completely upside down. He had .351 last year against lefties, .230 against right-handers. Fouls it back. And that pitch away, that slider away, a real problem. Tigers have Al Kaline here. Such a great player throughout his career and a great gentleman. And he's got that great common sense approach to hitting. He says, watch how a pitcher works you, how he tries to get you out. Ground ball down to third. Longoria takes care of that. Castellanos is out of there. So he talks to a hitter. Well, they're working me with a slider. And he goes, well, don't swing at the slider. Hit something else. Don't chase. And that's almost instinctively one of the reasons Al Kaline was such a great hitter right out of high school and into the major leagues. Kaline, and what a great sense of the game and of life.
Yeah, when you get statues at a ballpark and your number in some fashion put on a wall, pretty good.
Yeah, it tends to be working out for you, and a lot of people around you as well. Justin Upton takes the ball. Upton, a big strikeout guy with big power. So far this year, only 2 home runs. He has struck out 63 times this year and has walked only 8 times.
That's remarkable. It's May. Well, all or nothing. And as you could see where little pitch number 2 is, that was a little off-speed pitch that stayed middle of the plate, and he completely pulled off that pitch. So anxious to try to yank. That will lead to strikeouts.
Well, now it's a 2-2 count. Jerry Meals calling the balls and strikes. Veteran umpire. He broke in 1992. Here's the crew chief. Ron Culpo, Paul Nart, Chris Conroy, first, second, and third. Close. Just off the plate, and the count is full. Cameron Maben is on deck. And Andres thought he had a strike there, and ball 4 says Jerry Meals.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you're saying, how does Justin Upton not swing at this pitch? And second of all, okay, he didn't. It's still strike 3. That's right there. Jerry Meals right down there on top of it, too. Didn't think so, but that looked like a good pitch.
Yeah, that's a tough break for Andriese. Instead of 2 men out with nobody on, a runner at first with 1 out, and he deals with Cameron Maben, veteran outfielder. Goes back active. He was in Atlanta last year.
Same pitch. Same pitch.
Yep, that's a strike. Goes back active, and you can see there 5 of 9 in the 3 games back.
Well, if he qualified, he'd be leading the league in hitting. Wouldn't be Castellanos.
He's got a little catching up to do in plate appearances. He's a high energy guy. The Tigers like him for that reason, among other things.
Oh,
runners going. What a break and a base hit through the right side. Upton's going to go to third. And it's first and third. So Maben is now 6 of his first 10 since he's gotten back healthy.
Well, the start and stop. Matt Andriese not even paying attention over there. Watch over at first base. Justin Upton, start, stop, go. Completely just was out of mind of Matt Andriese. And then, of course, as he goes, Pierce is sliding over to second, opens up the right side, and Maben squirts it through.
And James McCann.
And be careful with Maben over here at first base, too.
Yeah, exactly. Move over there. McCann's hitting only 118, but he hit 264 in a little over 400 at bats last year. So you can't take him for granted either. And a balk has been called. No pause in the middle of that. And a run is going to come home.
You know, that's been an issue with Matt Andriese. It was an issue down in Durham. I think he was called for 5 balks down there. He's got an interesting way of coming set, and it always is not the cleanest. Let's watch him. Yeah, never came set. Just, I don't think I've ever seen him do that.
No, he can have an appearance of coming set and then not, and then coming set again sometimes.
Right. Yeah, but that was just, I'm picking the leg up and going.
The pitch, a strike around the knees. So they balk a run home here. Tigers are on the board. Well, that's a little breakout there. Breakdown after the walk to Upton. Now a turn, but nothing doing back there. And that's the kind of thing you really hate to see, especially against a team that's capable of scoring runs on their own. You don't have to help them.
No. And not only do you help them score that run, you put a speedster out into scoring position too.
Oh, 2 to McCann.
I still can't get over what we just saw there. I mean, usually guys will come set maybe not long enough. He didn't even come set.
Yeah.
He just picked his leg up and threw the ball towards home plate.
Yeah, and you wonder, you know, he walked Upton on a pitch that was a strike. You're upset over that. And then Upton takes off. He doesn't pay attention to him. And then you make this mental mistake on the balk. Things start to roll. And, you know, one of the things that young players, pitchers, and position players alike, and I think Andriese had made a lot of progress in that the game has a tendency to speed up on you in certain situations, and you need to control those.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, this is part of the game where he's struggled, you know, with the balks, a large number of them. And when he does come set, when you see him come set, you're right. He almost looks like he's getting ready to pitch again.
Yep.
And it's like he forgot one of the steps because this isn't the cleanest come set you're ever going to see. You see how he comes up, taps, now comes set.
Ground ball third. Throw to first in time. Miller moving to his right. That ball between Longoria and Miller to the left of Longoria at third, and Miller got over there. And for a moment it appeared they might have had Maben caught between second and third, but rather than take that chance, Miller gets the catcher McCann at first. Just in time. 2 outs with Maben still at second. It's been a strange inning on that infield for the Rays here in the bottom of the second.
You're fortunate that it was McCann running and that you had the luxury of having that much time. That could have been.
Jose Iglesias. See that pitch inside, and he got his hands in and pulled it foul. Tiger shortstop. Foul back. 0-2. Upton's walk has been turned into a run. Maben's at second. And another foul ball by Iglesias, the shortstop. Tapper foul. Still 2 strikes. Rays got 3 in the first. The Tigers a run in the second inning. Fly ball lifted toward the right field line, and Souza Jr. makes the catch to retire the side. So the Rays limit the damage. 1 run scores through 2, 3-1 Rays. Tonight's Geico moment on this day in 2006, Barry Bonds hits home run 714, tying Babe Ruth for second on the all-time list. At our Geico moment. We move to the third inning with the Rays on top the Tigers 3-1. Evan Longoria takes the first pitch, and that's a strike. Evan down in the count. 7-game hitting streak for the Rays' third baseman. Facing Anibal Sanchez. Steve Pearce will be next, and then Corey Dickerson. Well, the Rays with that 3-run first, but the bottom of the second shows you how quickly the Tigers can get the potential tying run to the plate. They've made it a 2-run game now. So the Rays trying to add to their 3-1 lead. It's popped up. And the third baseman, Castellanos, takes care of that. Now Steve Pearce approaches the plate. Tonight's Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. It's been a good month of May. 341 with 5 home runs so far. The on base and the slugging percentage pretty healthy as well.
How about that? How about that number right there, Dwayne?
Yep.
In May, that's his batting average against lefties. Is that good?
Like it.
6-4. He's 9 out of 14 with damage.
You can put him almost anywhere on the field and in the batting order for that matter. Tonight facing the right-hander Sanchez. And that ball foul outside of third. 1-1.
Well, if you're going to come in on Steve Pearce, it better be about 100 miles an hour, or it better get to its spot on the edge or in off, because balls that are middle of the plate, middle in, he hammers. So that pitch is right there, yanked it foul.
It's 1-2. Way too high. Well, the Rays trying to get over 500. 19-19 right now. Once before this year, they were a game over at 15-14. Fly ball center. Maben makes the catch. 2 away. Well, from $2 Kids Day to $2 Dogs, senior specials to Student Rush, the Rays have something for everyone every night of the week. Just check out the great specials at raysbaseball.com/specials or call 888-FAN-RAYS now. Corey Dickerson at the plate with the bases empty. Dickerson checks. A ball, no strikes. Dickerson got the double just inside the left field line in the first inning. That scored the second run of the inning for the Rays, and he eventually scored the third run. There's a look at that.
How about that? That ball away from him, just a flick of the wrist, right up the line. Couldn't have made a better decision to start Miller and a better spot to hit the ball than where Corey Dickerson did. Kept that inning alive, and the Rays would score another one.
So that pitch up there, Dickerson close to being on it, fouled it.
Well, the Tigers, Corey Dickerson, we've seen it many a time. He loves the ball out over the plate, down, where he can get extension with that uppercut swing. So the Tigers deliberately trying to stay up with him to this point. See right there, like how aggressive that swing is. And that's a protect swing. I don't know, well, actually I don't know if Corey Dickerson has a protect swing. But that would be it. But you see, that's the swing path that he prefers.
Yeah, that's his 2-strike protect swing.
Try to hit a homer to left.
Yeah.
Right? Pitch me away. I'm
Yep.
going to try to hit a home run to left.
2-2. Desmond Jennings on deck with the bases empty and 2 gone. And that is strike 3. Comes back to catch that inside corner. 3 up, 3 down. 3-1 Rays. A 3-run first, have the lead. Moving into the bottom of the third. Support your favorite Rays players by voting with the Esurance All-Star Game ballot at RaysBaseball.com/vote. You can vote up to 5 times a day to get Evan Longoria, Logan Forsythe, Kevin Kiermaier, and the rest of your favorite Rays to the All-Star Game. Go to RaysBaseball.com/vote. Matt Andriese facing the top of the order. It's Ian Kinsler lining a base hit into center. 2 hops to Kiermaier. Kinsler's been red hot, and that gives him an 8-game hitting streak.
And the breaking ball by Andriese just stayed up. Kinsler, he'll handle that ball away. That's got some. Right there, that ball kind of staying right at the thighs. He can reach out there and get it. The one down and away is the one that he'll have problems with. And second time through, and see what adjustments these Tigers hitters make.
J.D. Martinez fouls the first one. Fastball up and out over the plate.
You're going to want to stay away from that area. Not so much here, Dwayne, or here, but not right there.
Yeah. Right-handed hitter against a right-hander. Martinez lights it up, out over the plate, even better. And he fouled that one.
Yeah, you be thankful that you're up in the count 0-1, especially with his power.
Ground ball. Miller, no place to go. First base. Well, they had the shift on. Miller looked to unload that, but nobody home there out of the shift. And they missed a double play opportunity because of the shift. And Kinsler winds up in scoring position.
Well, Steve Pearce, you're going to see him right there And this ground ball is going right to Brad Miller. So it's not like Steve Pearce is going to be able to field that ground ball or go for it, and he does not peel back to the bag. That's what we see oftentimes when the guy that plays second base that's over near the bag reads that ground ball to the shortstop, he will peel to the bag. That's the way you try to turn a double play in the shift, and Pearce there took a couple steps to his right and just stayed there.
Now Miguel Cabrera bats with a man in scoring position. Yeah, you don't want to give this Detroit club too many of these opportunities. They'll create opportunities on their own.
Well, a balk led to the run. That play right there, Steve Pearce, not new to second base, but getting extended time out there now with the injury to Logan Forsythe and the shift at second base. You get different responsibilities. You see that ground ball, headed to your right. That's the instinct. They already, had one where there was a little miscommunication that got misplayed by Brad Miller. I think he realizes it right there too. That look on his face is not a happy one, although it rarely is. It gives you the Pierce and you just walk away.
Fly ball deep to right. Souza looking up, and that's out of here. An opposite field home run. And on one swing of Cabrera's bat, the game is tied with his 7th home run of the year.
Well, that shows you how strong Miguel Cabrera is. He flipped that ball into the right field stands.
The 50th home run of the year for the Tigers, and of his 7, 5 the other way.
How about that? How about that?
There's Victor Martinez. Now look at the swing.
Look at the leverage created, that stiff front leg. Everything on time and strength to boot.
Well, it's a beautiful swing unless he's doing that against you. Then it's trouble. High shot back into center. Kiermaier's going to have room in that spacious outfield. 2 gone.
Yeah, that's where fly balls go to die. 420 in straightaway center.
Well, the bases are empty. It's a tie game. Castellanos will be the hitter now. It's a ball. Castellanos grounded out third to first in the 2nd inning. It's 2-1. 3-2. Home run by Cabrera has tied it. He's been trouble for the Rays since he debuted in the major leagues and hit a 2-run walk-off home run back in 2003 in his major league debut to win a game over the Rays when he played for the Marlins. His first big league hit, a home run to win a game. He's hit one out to right field to tie this game. Now 3-2 on Castellanos. Fly ball left center. Jennings closing. 2-run score, base hit by Kinsler and the home run by Cabrera. We're through 3. Rays 3 and the Tigers 3. Tie game through 3. We're tied at 3 on the 2-run home run by Miguel Cabrera. Desmond Jennings opening the 4th against Anibal Sanchez. And a base hit, an infield hit his first time. Fouling this one away. Logan Morrison will follow, and then Kevin Kiermaier due up.
Well, it's right back to work. This is why you just got to keep the pressure on. This Tiger offense has answered back to a brand new ball game.
It's 1-1. Sanchez has 7 decisions at 8 prior starts. 3 and 4 coming into this game, and the Tigers are 3 and 5 in the games he has started. The Tigers were in a terrible stretch. They had lost 11 out of 12, and now they've won 4 in a row. And during that stretch, like the Rays offense, the Tigers have gotten great offense. They're scoring over 7 runs a game the last 4 games. So the idea in here is to score more runs.
And they've been susceptible to giving up runs. You know, a year ago, this Tiger pitching staff had the worst ERA in the American League, worst starters ERA in the American League.
J.D. Martinez handles that fly ball, slices right to him, 1 away. Let's check in with Rich right now.
Thanks, Dwayne. Third base coach Charlie Montoya was not with the team during their day off yesterday in the suburbs of Detroit, but for good reason. He was back in Durham with his former team, the AAA Durham Bulls, as they helped enshrined him into the International League Hall of Fame. The whole festivity was a big surprise to Charlie, especially when they retired his number 25. This is part of our T-Mobile Greater coverage. Montoyo said the whole event was awesome. His family was there, obviously former players. He's the 5th number to be retired for the Durham Bulls. And the legacy certainly continues, guys, when you consider the fact that current Bulls manager Jared Sandberg was Charlie Montoyo's team MVP his first year managing the Bulls. Fellas?
Yeah, he had, Charlie, a great run in 8 years at Durham, finishing first 7 of those 8 years. And you talk about a guy working his way up. That's right, Jared Sandberg with Princeton in the Appalachian League in 1997. And that's when Charlie Montoyo managed that team and had Jared Sandberg on that team as a young infielder. And now Jared managing the Durham Bulls.
Yeah, I don't think that a lot of people really understand, you know, the pathway that you take as a player, as a coach, you know, moving up the ladder. It's sometimes, you know, unless you're the city that you're playing in, no one really knows what's going on down there, how difficult it is. It's not the most luxurious life, that's for sure.
Ground ball into the outfield, and right there with the shift on, Morrison is out. It was Castellanos all the way over there in shallow right field. So that's a 5-3, but the play came from right field out of the shift. Yeah, you're right. If you look at Charlie's pathway to the major leagues, and good for the organization, by the way, to add him and make him the third base coach here, because he did it the old-fashioned way. He earned it.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that recognized and rewarded. Charlie, a great baseball guy there, and the Rays' third base coach.
Well, even thinking of the travel, you know, at the lower levels, you're busing all through the night. I can remember, you know, even in AAA with Buffalo, you get up, you know, the 5 a.m. flight, connect out of Memphis to get down to New Orleans for a game that night. And it's 130.
Hot shot, low liner by Kiermaier, caught by Cabrera. 1, 2, 3 go the Rays. 7 in a row retired by Sanchez. Rays and the Tigers tomorrow. The world's best drivers compete in a winner-take-all fight for $1 million in the NASCAR Sprint Cup All-Star Race at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, only on FS1, or watch it on Fox Sports Go. Pretty good payday for somebody.
A lot of interest. There's a lot of interest, Wade.
There's no question about that.
Yep. Left turns. Constant left turns.
Well, we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. This is Justin Upton looking at a strike. He walked and scored his first time. One and one. You know, the Tigers have 2 hitters back-to-back in their lineup, Castellanos and Upton, who a year ago you would think might feast on left-handed pitching. We've already talked about Castellanos and the big move he's made to counteract that. Upton last year hit .191 against left-handed pitching and .266 against right-handed pitching, at 26 home runs total, only 3 against lefties.
What did you say earlier in the game about Castellanos? What he was susceptible to off righties?
Yeah,
that slider down and away
all day long.
We already saw Justin Upton really pulling off pitches that were middle of the plate. You know, he really wants to get to jerking into left field. So if I'm a left-handed pitcher, sinker down and away, sinker down and away. Let him pull off those pitches all day long. Show him a fastball in off the plate. Go back to sinker and change up down and away, and you really can start to piece it together on why they would struggle against lefties.
Yeah, you're thinking like one of those sneaky pitchers again, aren't you? Strike 3 call this time. Upton. How about that pitch? That's exactly the same pitch he walked on in the 2nd.
Yeah.
Exactly the same pitch.
Yeah.
Same location. Middle of the plate down, but at the knees.
Same look, different result.
Wow.
Meals giveth and he taketh away.
Yep. So 1 away here in the 4th. Yeah, those pitchers always trying to figure out an angle.
Especially those pitchers that didn't have explosive stuff.
Showing the stuff in, sink it away. Looks like a strike. Oh, it's not.
It's the only way I could have survived.
Right. Little base hit into right. Maben is 2 for 2, dropping that one in front of Souza Jr.
You're trying to use the same voice that I used in.
Yeah, I was. You know, I hope I. You know, if you need residuals or something for it, we'll pay you in trade.
I'll break it out at some point. I'm not sure how exactly I did it.
Yeah,
You're close.
Just came naturally.
It did.
It sounded so good.
Sometimes to sell a story, you've got to change voices.
That's right. And I've never heard you do that quite like that before. It was really great. Here's James McCann. Conger on his way to the mound to chat with Andriese. Braves have 3 runs, 5 hits. Tigers have 3 runs, 4 hits.
Talking, about McCann, but also about Maben over there at first base. You've got some things at play here with Andriese and the issues in coming set, the time to the plate. Hank Conger has had issues throwing out base runners, and Maben has stolen a base in, was it 3 straight games since he's been back every game?
He's really given his team some life.
I think it just is a matter of when, not if.
Yep. He was on a minor league rehab, had a left wrist fracture, and has just been back a handful of days now. He's at first. And to move over there. Maben goes and stops, and the pitch is a strike.
I think that his timing was a little off. You know, he had a start and stop, and then another one. Just trying to time up. Matt Andriese didn't have a good feel there and called it off.
Andriese and Morrison playing catch with Maben back in. He's gone now, and that pitch up pops away from Conger. Well, he had a pitch up, but it popped out of Conger's mitt.
Well, you're just counting the pitches. When is he going to go? This pitch not bad for Conger to try to handle, and he just does not make the catch. Ball's up. He's coming out of his crouch.
Yeah, he's in great position to throw if he can hang on to that, make the transfer. That's happened a couple times with him. I don't know if there's an anxious factor in there, you know, to unload it.
When you feel like you're being taken advantage of, I'll bet you that does play. He understands the numbers.
This one toward the corner, caught by Souza Jr. A tag at second, and Maben goes to third. McCann is the second out. Yeah, one caught stealing in the last 51, I think.
Yeah.
Are the numbers.
Yeah.
With Conger back there.
And while
as much as you try to put them out of your mind, they're still there.
And yeah, that's exactly right. You may not know the exact number, but you know that I've only thrown one guy out in a long, long time, and so you're going to start compensating somehow.
Yep.
You know, you can go out and work on that every day if you want, but until you see some results, the work doesn't resonate. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, you want to see some positive feedback, and there hasn't been too much in that area.
Well, here's Jose Iglesias. Maben at third. Still at third after that first pitch. 1-0 to Iglesias. He was retired on a fly ball to right his first time. And he takes a strike in that at bat. The first pitch, Andriese threw him a pitch up and in off the plate, and he hit it well foul. He has a home run off the ex-Tiger Max Scherzer they were telling us about. Same kind of thing. Scherzer came up and in off the plate, and somehow Iglesias made contact with that and kept it fair and hit it out off Scherzer. On a pitch about that same spot where Andriese made that delivery the first time up.
Cans.
Yep.
I mean, the only way you're doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it seems almost impossible, especially when you think about a guy that throws as hard as Scherzer.
Yeah.
Now it's 3-1. I mean, you're really thinking if you make contact at all in there, it's almost defensive.
And it's not with the barrel of the bat.
No.
You're making, with the handle, the label, not the barrel.
And if you do hit it with any good part of the bat, how do you keep it fair?
Now, is this like a story like that was written on the bathroom wall? I mean, is this? Do we know that this is even true? It sounds made up.
Tigers tell us that happened.
Were they snickering?
They were wide-eyed.
I would be too.
Yeah. Tapper foul, right side. A gorgeous night in the mid-60s. Rays had a day off yesterday. It was beautiful here. And tonight, with all those days off the Rays have had, the Rays are beginning play on 20 consecutive days now until their next off day, which will be June the 9th. So those runs of consecutive games beginning after a lot of off days in the early season for the Rays.
You knew it was a matter of time before you were going to pay for that. Just way too many off days.
Ground ball. Miller up with it. Throw to first. Scoop at first. Out there, and that retires the side. Nice play by Morrison on the receiving end. 6-3 goes the play. No runs a hit. The man left. We're tied 2-4 at 3.
And Tigers tied at 3, and the last time I was with you guys an inning ago, we talked about AAA Durham. We're going to do it again. Why? Because the AAA Durham Bulls have themselves a new catcher and a familiar name for Rays fans. JP Arancibia released at his own request Monday by the Philadelphia Phillies, as you see Hank Conger with a high fly ball into left. That'll be 1 out. Arancibia pretty much gambled on himself, guys, asked for his own release and received it from the Phillies, and just a few days later, guess what? He's back with the Tampa Bay Rays organization. He signed a minor league deal today, and he is already at AAA Durham. You check his Twitter feed, you think he's a little bit happy about this move. He wrote, "Contentment is a state of graceful happiness." Now he gets to go to work with his favorite team, guys.
Meanwhile, the Rays catcher Hank Conger has lifted a fly ball to left. 1 gone, and we go back around to the top of the order. Steven Souza Jr.
What was that he wrote on his Twitter feed?
I was trying to write it down because it was pretty profound.
Well, I was thinking about maybe I might have to take that phrase down to Chris Archer and get it translated.
There's a foul ball back by Steven Souza Jr.
This is a pretty heavy phrase there.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to piece it together. There he is.
Yep.
And he's got a meeting that he doesn't even know about coming up.
Pitch is down 1-1. So Arancibia headed to Durham. You saw the numbers that he put up offensively for the Rays last year. Well, those are the kinds of numbers that we've seen recently out of this Rays lineup. Pitch a little close to Souza getting out of there in a hurry.
You don't see that anymore. You really don't see guys get knocked off the plate like they used to. This used to be kind of the norm. I mean, you get ready to dive out over there, you get stood right up. And then that was what you followed up with, something soft below the zone or down and away.
You know, that's what we were talking about the other day with, you know, the homestand and the 3 home runs. You have to do that. I think that's part of the art of pitching.
I don't think guys have enough confidence in their command to throw up and in like they used to. You know, a lot of stuff guys, you know, with big fastballs that I don't think that they feel real good about going up and in on a guy, that they have the confidence that they can, you know, put it close to him. It doesn't mean you hit him. You move his feet. You put it up. You put a little fear into him and back him off the plate.
Yeah, and to take nothing away from Danny Valencia, he had a great day, 3 home runs and hit the ball a mile every time. But there's a good chance that if that happens to him after that first home run, that you don't see those other 2 home runs.
Right on. Right on.
It's a strike to Brad Miller. And so Sanchez, who gave up the home run to Souza Jr., not mad at him. He's just pitching.
Yeah.
That's part of the competition.
Yeah. You're comfortable. You know, you got a comfortable group at the plate right now. They're coming off of a series where the Rays put up 31 runs in 3 games against the Blue Jays. They had a quick start here tonight. It's a comfortable group, so you move some feet. The guy that took you out, you move his feet, and then you go down and away and do your thing.
There's a little tap down to third. Castellanos bounces it in, and it's picked out by Miller. 1, 2, 3 go the Rays. We're still tied at 3. Brought to you by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by your Southern Chevy dealers. On we go into the bottom of the 5th inning in Detroit. Matt Andres against Anibal Sanchez. Top of the order, Ian Kinsler goes after the first pitch and lifts a fly ball into center. Kiermaier's right there for that one. 1 pitch and 1 out. So Andres here in the bottom of the 5th starts his 3rd time through the Detroit lineup. You know, we're talking about that pitch up and in a bit to Souza Jr. with Anibal Sanchez. Well, Sanchez has had problems 3rd time through the order. And Souza Jr., the first man Anibal Sanchez facing 3rd time through the order, and so he gave him a little different look there.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because you're right. The struggle's pretty profound that 3rd time through, so you end up taking a guy that has already homered off you. It works 2 birds with 1 stone, really.
1-1 to count on J.D. Martinez. Big cut. Martinez fouls it back. A ball, 2 strikes. Matt Andriese coming off that great outing against Oakland. 2-hit shutout. Touch for a run in the second, 2 in the third tonight. Swing and a miss. Conger's going to have to go down to first with the throw to complete the strikeout on J.D. Martinez. So score that one 2-3 on the out at first. Third strikeout for Andriese. 2 gone in the 5th. And Miguel Cabrera, who tied the game with an opposite field home run, is up here. He has reached on an error and has hit a home run. There's a shot back into center. Kiermaier has room. Yeah. That takes care of the Tigers, and we go to the 6th. 3-3. Braves jumped out in front on the second pitch of this game. Steven Souza Jr. belting his 9th home run of the year. That went into left, a breaking ball. Corey Dickerson double home, another run. He got Brad Miller home for first on that 2-base hit, and eventually scored on a base hit by Logan Morrison. Tigers got a run in the 2nd inning. That came on the balk, scoring Justin Upton from third base. And they tied it in the 3rd when Miguel Cabrera hit his 7th home run of the year, an opposite field 2-run shot. So we go to the 6th inning. The game tied, and a pitch up and in to Evan Longoria leans him back a bit. Evan 0 for 2.
That's a good take right there by Evan Longoria. You know, Anibal Sanchez, a rough first inning. He's kind of settled in. He's mixed speeds.
Liner into left. That's going to fall for a hit. Upton backs up, fields it on 2 hops. A leadoff single for Longoria.
Well, that's why that take before on the changeup that was down. Evan obviously seeing the ball well here off Sanchez. Got that change up. Now you're forced over the plate. 2-0. You're going to throw the change up. Got to throw a strike. That ball's up, and Evan hammers it out to left field. Lead off base runner. Make it count.
8-game hitting streak for Evan. Steve Pearce. Pearce 0 for 2 tonight. Came into the game with just 1 career at bat against Sanchez. 0 for 1. And hits this one deep down the left field line, but it's going to be foul. Pearce gave it a look, tried to will it fair, but no chance. A foul ball.
Stay away from middle in. Watch this. There, that ball meant to be away, stayed middle of the plate, and he got hammered. Pierce a little too quick on that one.
Well, we're 2 hitters into the 6th inning. A little conversation. McCann goes out with Sanchez, and there's some action stirring in the bullpen. Well, the Tigers, righty and a lefty. Ryan the lefty, Verhagen the right-hander. A close miss there to Pierce, just off the plate. 1-1. Middle of the order, Dickerson's on deck. That's too close. 2-1. Pierce right now hitting .294 with 6 home runs. And that's Corey Dickerson on deck. Foul ball back. That one away from him, up.
Yeah, you want that pitch down and away. We've seen him now with 3 different fastballs in off the plate to the Rays here 3rd time through. You got the one to Souza Jr. He backed Evan off before his base hit. That previous pitch, you can see pitch number 3 to Pierce, way in off. Now trying to pitch in and out.
And the count's going to go full.
Another count where you stay disciplined if you're Steve Pierce. You're telling yourself, see that pitch out over the plate. He's got to be over the plate here. He certainly doesn't want to walk anybody with the runner already on.
Runner goes. The pitch is away. He walks him. And the Rays will put the first 2 men on. So a walk drawn by Pierce. And the Rays have a major threat. The left-handed bat of Dickerson is due, and Brad Ausmus out to make a change. Veterans. For every game the Rays win, Duke Energy donates $1,000 to area agencies working in support of our veterans. Duke Energy, powering Florida with more than just energy, supporting our veterans and local charities as well. We're in Detroit. The Rays and the Tigers tied 3-3, top of the 6th. Rays have put the first 2 men on. And Kyle Ryan a lefty on to face Corey Dickerson.
Yeah, and interesting numbers. Just 7 strikeouts and 17 in the 3rd innings. An opponent's average of 3.02, but yet the ERA just 2.60.
Yeah, and left-handed hitters batting 345 off him. Last year in 16 games, 6 of them starts, lefties hit 333 off him and righties 263. So here's Dickerson, lefty on lefty. Pitch is a strike at the knees. Dickerson, one of the runs batted in for the Rays. Oh, 2.
Kyle Ryan, about 6 feet 5 inches tall, lanky. It gives you a little bit of crossfire action too.
And he's not overpowering.
No.
That fastball often sub 90.
What's wrong with that?
That's wide. 1 ball and 2 strikes. That one at 91.
Reached back.
Yes, he did.
Gloves.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There isn't. 91 is perfectly fine. The
Yeah.
other stuff is like, you better have some smoke and mirrors.
Here's Desmond Jennings. And he gets Dickerson reaching. So he comes in and gets a big strikeout there. So the left-handed bat.
He's kind of stepping at you right there. Now he yanks that pitch down and away. And he gets Corey Dickerson to walk off the edge of the plate.
Here's Desmond Jennings. Boy, this is a big opportunity for the Rays. Desmond has an infield hit in 2 at-bats. Which is down. Very close. Longoria heads to third, does a little tap right side. The play's going to be at first. Kinsler throws out Jennings. The runners move up, and Longoria was on his way on that pitch. Pierce moves up to second on the ground ball.
Well, if you are going to try to swipe third base, that's the time to do it. And if he's not making you stop and he's not paying you a lot of attention, then you leave it into the hands of a veteran like Evan Longoria to determine that he can get there.
Well, here's Logan Morrison. Another left-handed bat. He's 1 for 2, drove in a run with a single in the first. The pitch is away. 2 men on, 2 men out in the 6th. One and one. Morrison with the base hit back in the first inning. Single into right. Scored the 3rd run of that inning. That's been it for the Rays so far. This is the only other scoring opportunity they've managed to put together. Inside, 2 and 1. Kyle Ryan entering with men at first and second. Nobody out. They're now at second and third with 2 outs. Morrison against Ryan. And ball 3 is down.
Now you get a shot or two.
It's Kevin Kiermaier in the on-deck circle.
See how aggressive Ryan is here going against Morrison. Got that open base, another lefty coming up behind him. You certainly don't want to lay something right out over the heart of the plate, but we'll see.
And ball 4 loads the bases. So Morrison would not chase. The bases are loaded. Kevin Kiermaier will bat. Brad Ausmus and Gene Lamont. Lamont, the bench coach, conferring in the Detroit dugout. See what Kiermaier can do against the lefty. Kevin hit the ball hard in the 4th on a line right to Miguel Cabrera. Up the right side this time. That's a fair ball back into the corner. Longoria scores. Pierce scores. Morrison's going to be waved around. Throw to the plate, not in time, and into third, Kiermaier. He clears the bases to give the Rays a 6-3 lead. On the first pitch, Kiermaier picks up his first triple of the year. And the Rays lead by 3.
Well, Kiermaier just watched Ryan walk Logan Morrison, so he knows that he's going to try to get right back in the strike zone with pitch number 1. He's ready to hit. He gets one that's out over. We've talked about and documented Kyle Ryan's struggles against left-handed pitching. And that ball into the corner, 2 outs, everybody running on contact. Big, big hit for the Rays. They can steal a bag, score from first.
And the Rays again lead by 3 runs as Kiermaier clears them. Hank Conger hitting from the right side looks at a strike. Boy, a big 2-out walk by Morrison and an even bigger 2-out triple by Kiermaier.
And how about the much maligned Rays offense? They've gone for at least 6 runs now in 6 straight games.
5 of these runs charged to Sanchez. Ground ball 3rd. Castellanos makes the throw to first. Rays send 7 men to the plate. They score 3 and have again built a 3-run lead. last year. He has just picked up his first triple of the year here tonight. And it chases home Longoria, Pierce, and Morrison. And the Rays have come right back.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep the pressure on. They were able to do that, took advantage of some walks, and smart by Kevin Kiermaier to be up there looking for a pitch out over the plate. It's Kelly Ryan, you know, he just walked a guy to load the bases. So you know he's looking for strike one, and he hammered it.
Well, 5 of those runs charged to Sanchez. And now big inning for Matt Andriese. First pitch into Victor Martinez is lifted foul and out of play up the right side for a strike. Fly ball to left and a fly ball to center field tonight for Martinez, the designated hitter. He came into the game hitting .331, 5th in the American League. There's a base hit. Punch through the middle. Leadoff man is aboard.
Victor Martinez, such a good hitter. Smart. Good recognizing that pitch that's out over the plate. Goes right back up the middle.
Well, you talked about his balance earlier on the night, and boy, that's absolutely true. You know, he's gone through a couple of surgeries on his left knee, and he's still remarkable up there in the batter's box.
The hand-eye coordination, you know, that he has, able to stay quiet at the plate, puts himself in a good position to make the swing. And then you combine that with the brains upstairs, understanding how pitchers work them, what they're trying to do. Been one of the best for a long time.
37 years old. One strike to count on Nick Castellanos. Oh, 2. Castellanos came into this game hitting .396 off right-handed pitching. But his last year hitting .230 against right-handed pitching. The ball, 2 strikes. Andriese working here in the 6th, trying to work his way through the lineup for the 3rd time. He has 84 pitches. Blocked by Conger. That evens the count at 2-2. Andriese has given up 1 walk. That was Upton in the 2nd. He scored. Kinsler singled in the 3rd. Cabrera's home run scored him. Single by Victor Martinez. 2-2 to Castellanos. 1 hop. Pierce tossed to second. Miller 1. First base not in time. Pierce turning and gave him that underhanded feed at second. Took a while to get that ball there.
Yep, it just too much air on that flip. Another chance there for the Rays to turn 2, not taken advantage of. Right here you turn, there's the underhand flip, and look how long it takes to get to Brad Miller, and then by the time he rifles it to Morrison, it's too late.
Well, anytime you don't execute an out when you think maybe you should, it's always a matter of concern for a manager. He just knows how precious every out is.
Well, the last time that happened, Cabrera hit the home run the other way.
Yep.
Gave him an extra run. Power at the plate here.
Strike the count on Justin Upton. Ryan Webb up in the bullpen for the Rays. And a swing through that one. Pitch in the upper part of the zone.
By design. Andrees up to 93 miles an hour on that pitch. Now, if I were him in this 0-2 count, I'd take it a little bit higher. You got some room to play with here.
And he does. Upton lays off. A ball, 2 strikes.
Now I would give him that filthy changeup. Call it a day. Or call it in that bat.
And it's low.
Okay. I go back to the elevated heater here. He's going to swing at one of them.
Get him to chase.
Yeah.
He loves to swing.
Change the eye level. Just did that.
So it's a 2-ball, 2-strike count on Justin Upton. Big time power, a lot of strikeouts. And he takes that one. Boy, that pitch up there. Fox Tracks liked it.
And so did I, and I'm sure Matt Andrees did, and Hank Conger and Kevin Cash. Go right down the list.
You know, that's twice tonight that Upton has gotten a call on a pitch. Remember the one in the first inning?
Yeah.
That was a strike at the knees. And that was for ball 4. This one for ball 3. So he's gotten a couple calls tonight. Andrees to 3-2. And there is ball 4.
I can't believe he didn't swing at one of them. Maybe not that one. That ball's crowding him. You're not going to swing at that. But the previous pitch, we know how much he likes to swing the bat. And to go from 0-2 to a walk right there.
Yep. So he'd walked only 8 times all year and has drawn 2 walks tonight. With a little help, though.
Yeah.
He could have been called out on strikes a couple times. And now, with 2 men on and 1 out, the Rays, with the bullpen busy, are going to go that way. Pitching change coming back in a moment. Here in the 6th inning, he goes 5 1/3, leaves with 2 men on. Has given up 3 runs on 5 hits. See his line, a couple of walks and 3 strikeouts. 92 pitches tonight for Andres.
Well, a little bit, of a struggle here for Matt. I had to battle against this ball club. There's that change up down and away. See the ground ball right here. Had a chance to maybe get the runner off. Took it out there. That was one of them that went his way on a borderline pitch against Justin Upton. But the big shot right there to Miguel Cabrera, showing you his strength going out to right field. That would tie the ball game. And he was the beneficiary, though, of the Kevin Kiermaier hit, and leads as the pitcher record with the lead.
And Ryan Webb with his sinker ball comes on for the 14th time. Men at first and second, 1 out. Cameron Maybin is the hitter. And Maybin can be a patient hitter up there, but he also can hit the ball on the ground. And he can run a bit.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're going to have to be real quick with the turn.
He takes the pitch down. Sinker to start him out of the zone low. A 1-0 count. And again, he takes it the same spot, does not chase.
Well, when you go in and hit against a guy like Webb, you're thinking ball up in the zone. If it's down in the zone, he's a sinker baller. It's going to end up further down and maybe out of the zone. So you've got to see it up.
And a base hit through the hole. Jennings charges it. Stopping at third is Castellanos. And the bases are loaded.
Wait till you see where the pitch was. You know, a sinker baller, the ball's down, it sinks. When a sinker baller throws a ball up, it fades and it stays up. That's what happened here. Got to get a strike. It just stays right there at the thighs.
So the bases are loaded. And Jim Hickey goes to the hill. James McCann will be the hitter. It's interesting, McCann also tends to hit the ball on the ground, and he's a bit more aggressive than Maybin. You know, Maybin took those first 2 pitches. Bases loaded here, 1 out. We'll see how this turns out with McCann.
Yeah, especially with 2 runners in scoring position now. This is when guys get antsy. They see a chance for 2 ribbies here. They want to swing the stick.
McCann out short to first in the 2nd inning. Rays would take that right now. Get a fly ball to right in the 4th. So the Rays look for the ground ball double play possibility here. The pitch McCann takes. Ball 1 a little bit outside. There's a strike. 1-1. That went up. Caught the corner.
That's the only reason that McCann didn't pull the trigger. They regret that.
Too low, covered up by Conger. Two and one. Line drive, base hit into left. Castellanos scores. Upton stops at third, and it's 6-4. So McCann drives in the run.
Another pitch that was up. That's what you have to do when you face Ryan Webb. See the pitch up. Watch where this one is. Right there. I mean, right at the thighs. Very similar to what Cameron maybe did. Really hit it in the same spot.
So Webb gives up 2 hits. Another pitching change. Back in a moment. Lead. Tigers have the bases loaded with 1 out. Ryan Webb gave up 2 hits to the 2 men he faced, and now it's Erasmo Ramirez.
Well, being summoned now for the 18th time, and he has been one of the Rays' go-to guys in tough situations, can give you multiple innings, and they don't get much tougher than this. Bases are juiced. And Rays nursing a 2-run lead.
4 runs so far charged to Andres. Jose Iglesias, the first man to face Ramirez. Ground ball, third, grabbed by Longoria. Out at second, out at first. 1 pitch, 2 outs, and the Rays are out of the jam. Iglesias grounds into the double play the Rays had been looking for the last 3 hitters. They get it there. Tigers settle for 1 run. Ramirez got the ground ball at 6-4 Rays. Has got the ground ball, but it was Evan Longoria who made a fine play moving to his left to start the inning-ending double play and get the Rays out of that spot.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, he had to fully extend. Now maintain balance by getting the glove to the dirt and then make the throw and get it started. Heck of a play by the Rays Gold Glove winning third baseman.
Yeah, you cannot take that play for granted. A difficult play on a number of fronts for Longoria, who's fired up to get the Rays out of that spot. So we're going to head into the 7th inning. Rays will have the top of the order, and they'll be facing Drew Verhagen, making his 18th appearance of the year. So it's the top of the order, and the pitch is down and away. Souza Jr., Miller, and then Longoria do. Verhagen, 25 years old. Fastball, curveball mostly, has a split. A little looper back of first, and that's in and out of the mitt of Cabrera in foul territory. And Souza Jr. is going to get another shot.
That ball just pushed foul. Miguel Cabrera, you know, over the shoulder, a tough angle here, but he gets to it and rattles around. Fortunate bounce there for the Rays. That should have been caught.
And they're going to give him an error. His second of the year. And back to the plate comes Souza. That's a strike. The count is 2-2. Full count. You know, I don't know if Cabrera's using it, if it would have made any difference there, but you know that rule change that the length of the first baseman's mitt this year can go to 13 inches.
Well, that thing hit right by the thumb, but it never got into the pocket. And just from the way that he was running over the shoulder.
Oh, look out. That pitch up and in, and I think it got him on the hand. And let's hope that he's all right. We've had those hand situations before. Paul Harker quickly out there to get Souza in the sitting position after he's been hit by a pitch. So the Rays are going to get a base runner out of this. The only question is, what's the condition of Souza Jr. after being hit? So the right hand. The Rays don't want to run into any of this, especially with Logan Forsythe out. Logan, who'd been such a great part of this team on the disabled list on both sides of the ball, at the plate and defensively. And there he is, hit by the pitch, but now as we go back, he's up and apparently on his way to first.
Yeah, that ball just running in. We saw Verhagen, his velocity up there in the mid-90s. Was catch you on the wrist, on the hand. That's going to sting. That is going to sting, and you just hope it ends up being just a bruise.
Well, you remember last year, he missed some time. The left hand fracture sidelined him for over a month last year. That one hit him on the right hand. Pitch down and now throw to first, and he is picked off. Souza, with that pitch down, started to move towards second and could not get back to the bag. He's picked off.
Hard to blame him, too. You know, you anticipate the ball in the dirt. You're not thinking that James McCann is going to come up with a perfect scoop throw. There's the secondary lead, that ball in the dirt, and just that little bit of movement towards second base.
So the Rays lose the base runner.
I think Kevin Cash, maybe you want to take a look at this too. You got the old step up to the top of the dugout. I want to take a look at it. Maybe thinking that Souza Jr. got that left hand to the bag before he was tagged on the shoulder. You're going to see when you get a replay, Miguel Cabrera tags him on the right shoulder, the left hand headed back to the bag. Let's take a look.
Well, that's going to be interesting here. The umpires conferring, and now Kevin coming out of the dugout.
May not be allowed to look at it.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
Right. I mean, if he requests it, you have to go take a look, right? He wanted him. You saw him make the thing with his.
It'd be nice to get a clarification on that.
Yeah, because the Rays have not challenged anything. He clearly said, put the headset on. I want you to take a look at it. They conferred. Told him no.
Miller fouls this one out of play. It'd be interesting to hear what was said down there.
Yeah, real interesting.
Because from that angle, that play was as interesting as what's developed in the aftermath of it. Nice scoop by McCann to begin with.
You could see too that glove.
Backhanded by Iglesias, and the throw, boy, that's a play.
Wow.
Iglesias to Cabrera to get Miller.
Shows you how strong his arm is. You know, he stopped flat-footed and fired that thing across. That was a really, really swift play there by Jose Iglesias. No step. It did look on that tag, though, that the glove hit the bill of his helmet before it got to his shoulder. Almost pushed it right off his head. So that being the case, he probably was out.
There's Evan Longoria. Pitch outside. Evan got the base hit in the 6th inning that led to the 3-run frame. He opened the inning with that single. Rays lead 6-4 now. Tigers came back with a run in the bottom of the 6th. But the double play got the Rays out of that spot. Holding on to the 2-run lead. Fly ball center field. Maben is there. The Rays are out in the 7th inning. 7th inning stretch for Detroit. Rays lead 6-4. Rays Live, the pregame show, presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Drew Smiley will be on the hill. Drew Smiley opposed by Michael Fulmer tomorrow, and we'll hear from Drew. The rest of us will break down Victor Martinez and his classic swing. All of that tomorrow afternoon. We'll greet you at 3:30 with Rays Live, the pregame. Here at the bottom of the 7th inning, it will be the top of the order, Ian Kinsler to lead off. Erasmo Ramirez came on, made one pitch, and got the double play ball to get out of the 6th. Kinsler takes a strike. Ryan Webb faced 2 hitters, gave up 2 hits, no runs. 4 runs charged to Matt Andriese tonight. There's strike 2.
How about the location of those 2 pitches? Up and in for a strike, low and away.
That's classic Erasmo Ramirez.
How good has he been for the Rays? In any number of roles. And I think we were all anticipating him going to the bullpen, and Brad Boxberger comes back, and then he moves back into the starting rotation. And I don't think you
How valuable he's been, where he's been.
Yeah, I mean, he can start a game for you. He's already done that. We know he can do that, but he can give you multiple innings out of the pen. He can pitch in high leverage situations.
And he strikes out Kinsler. How about that? He goes up. He's been so good with his control.
Oh, just pinpoint. Absolute pinpoint.
J.D. Martinez. It's foul. Well, the Rays scored 3 in the first. Tigers got a run in the second and 2 in the third to tie. Rays got 3 in the 6th, and the Tigers got 1 run in the 6th. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. 1 out, bases empty. Ground ball, shortstop. Miller's throw wide, but Morrison kept his foot on the bag. J.D. Martinez is the 2nd out of the inning.
That's a nifty play there by Logan Morrison on a ball that sailed on Brad Miller. And now all of a sudden you've got to work some good footwork over there, get into foul territory, avoid the runner, keep the foot on. Right there you see him able to tap that edge.
Now the hitter is Miguel Cabrera. Cabrera hit the 2-run home run in the 3rd that at that point tied the game at 3. That's a strike. That was his 7th home run of the year and his 6th to right field. One. That's the home run.
So strong to go the other way, and we have seen that 5 of the 7 home runs have gone the other way. Inside out approach.
2-1 the count. Well, we talked the other night about how strong some hitters are. I mean, Cabrera hits the ball to all fields, and the strong hands and wrists and forearms. Boy, there's one deep to center field. Kiermaier all the way to the wall, and that one is out of here, and then some. Wow. That ball just kept on going. A tremendous home run to center field. And it's a 1-run ball game.
said earlier that the home run to right field showed how strong he was. Check that. Going out to center field here and really off the camera housing unit out there. What a shot.
It's 420 to the wall in dead center. And this one cleared the wall by another 2 walls and hit the camera shed. Erasmo going, will that ever come down?
Wow.
And here's Victor Martinez. Pitch is down. What a blast by Miguel Cabrera. Two and 0. A 2-ball, no strike count. Big swing and a tapper foul. 2-1. You know, if you're out there in center field, you're one of those camera guys. You think you're pretty cozy, but take a look at this.
Right in front of him.
Right there. Even Kiermaier couldn't spring high enough to get up there. Liner into right toward the corner. Souza keeps it out of the corner, and it's a base hit for Martinez.
He just makes it look so easy. So fluid, so smooth.
Well, these two guys, Cabrera and Martinez, back to back, veteran hitters, and Martinez really better from the left side than the right side, so it's so classic too.
I mean, down and out over the plate. You know, that's a ball with some sink on it. But he's able to get underneath it. Actually, nice job, too, by Souza Jr. keeping that ball out of the corner and keeping Martinez at first base, not in scoring position. But, yeah, both of these hitters are they're just so smooth. They make it look way too easy.
Yeah, and the good ones do.
Yeah.
And two of the top hitters right there in approach and in execution. Martinez 2 for 4 with a couple singles. Cabrera 2 for 4 with 2 home runs. Here's Castellanos. And the pitch is a strike. One ball, one strike. Well, the Tigers got a run in the 6th. Rivera's got a double play ball to cap that inning at 1. Now they have a run on the home run by Cabrera. Victor Martinez at first, and Nick Castellanos, who scored the run in the 6th after reaching on a fielder's choice, is up here with a 1-2 count in the 7th. It's 2-2. Ground ball, fair, back at third. Throw to second, right on the money by Longoria to retire the side. A run home on the tremendous home run to center field by Miguel Cabrera. A run, 2 hits, and a man left. We are through 7, and the Rays lead 6-5. Heading into the 8th, Rays up by a run. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Well, the Rays will have Steve Pearce to lead off. Alex Wilson's going to be the new pitcher, the 4th of the night for Detroit. Drew Verhagen worked 1 inning, hit a man, and Wilson's on for the 15th time.
Well, 4.05 earned run average in 13 1/3 innings, and for the Rays offense, it's that time again. It's that time to try to put some pressure on this Detroit pitching staff as the Tigers inch closer once again.
Well, here's Pearce. The pitch is wide. Wilson can throw a number of ground balls. He did have some shoulder issues in early April. That's ball 2, 2-0. Another Wilson, Justin, the left-hander, throwing in the bullpen now for Detroit. Oh, a long one to left off the bat of Pearce, and that baby is out of here. Steve Pearce off Alex Wilson on a 2-0 pitch hits his 7th home run of the season, and it puts the Rays back up by 2.
Boy, that's an answer. Steve Pearce gets a good count, looks for 1 pitch, 1 spot, and delivers.
And boy, that's big, because when Wilson is right, he's throwing ground balls, and that was the antithesis of a ground ball there Pierce got all of that one.
And that's been the struggle with Alex Wilson this year. The ground ball rate way down. You're right. He's normally a guy who's going to wear out the infielders. Not so much this year.
There's Corey Dickerson. Dickerson taking a big cut. Strike one.
I love the answer. I love the answer.
There's nothing that brings a team together better than the answer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Fly ball to center. Maben is there. Well, there might be a couple of things, but the answer is one of the league leaders in that department.
It is. Always the top three.
Desmond Jennings, 1 for 3 tonight. Jennings had an infield hit in the first. The pitch is a strike. Oh, 2 now. Seven, 8-1 for the Rays. 5, 9-1 for the Tigers. It's now 1-2. Two and two. Rays opened this game with a home run. Steven Souza Jr. That started a 3-run first. They scored 3 in the 6th. The bases loaded triple by Kiermaier, the big blow in that one. And a leadoff home run in the 8th by Steve Pierce. Close. Ball 3. A full count. Jennings out on strikes. Out number 2. So Wilson, Alex Wilson strikes out Desmond Jennings, and Logan Morrison about to step in. Logan has a run batted in and a run scored tonight. And he takes a strike.
Continues to make that climb, continues to be productive here the last few games for the Rays.
Pitch off the plate, it's 1-1.
You can imagine that confidence. You can almost feel it growing. And the Rays are going to need him. Kevin Cash is not going to shy away from having Logan in the lineup and out there at first base.
Strike, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Manny Romero, the lefty, and Alex Colomé, the right-hander, busy in the Rays bullpen. Two and two. Kiermaier on deck. Rays and the Tigers last year divided the season series right down the middle at 3-3. Although the Rays outscored the Tigers last year in the season series 35-19.
That Tiger pitching staff, and it's not much better this year, but they were one of the worst staffs in the American League. Actually, the worst staff in the American League, one of the worst in baseball.
There's ball 4. Second time that Morrison has walked in this game. 2-out walk will get Kiermaier up there. Brad Ausmus, the manager here in Detroit. Kiermaier unloaded on the first pitch he saw in the 6th with the bases loaded, hitting it into the right field corner for a bases clearing triple. Strike 1. Over to first base, Morrison back in. These teams went 3-3 last year. Back it up into the year before. Over the last 10 games, they've split those right down the middle, 5-5. It's a ball and a strike. Last year, the Tigers finished 74-87. Year before, Ausmus' first year, they were 90-72. It's foul. Out of play. 1-2. Eighth inning of this one. Day game with the first pitch at 4:10. Our coverage begins at 3:30 tomorrow. Drew Smiley. Chris Archer will pitch here on Sunday. We'll be with you at 12:30, leading up to a 1:10 first pitch. We'll keep an eye on Morrison at first.
See what happens when you swipe a bag? Now they're scared. And why wouldn't the Rays think about it? Got the lead. 2 outs, get into scoring position.
Ground ball headed to short. Little toss there from Iglesias to Kinsler. Rays get around on a leadoff home run by Steve Pearce. They've made it a 2-run game again as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Rays now lead 7-5. Race Baseball on Fox Sports Sun is brought to you by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. By Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. And by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Comerica Park tonight, the Rays getting a home run from Steve Pearce in the 8th to make it a 7-5 ball game. Eddie Romero on the hill now for the Rays, facing Justin Upton. And the fastball at 97 is up and wide. 1-0.
Right there. 0.98 average. That's the best for a reliever in baseball. 5 of 51 the opposition against Romero.
And a base hit.
That one's on me.
So Upton sent it through the right side with the shift on.
This is why you keep pushing offensively, because the Tiger offense, you know, they've been swinging the bats well here recently, and they're not going to back down either. Upton does a nice job of putting that pitch that's down and away, hitting it the other way.
Maben is due up. Cameron Maben, who is 3 for 3 tonight. Upton, who just singled, got his first hit, but it's the 3rd time he's been on. So between the 6th and 7th spot, they've had 7 plate appearances. 6 times they've reached. And so Maben, with 3 singles and a stolen base, about to step in. He's now 8 out of 12 since coming back to the Tigers. He pushes a bunt foul right back into the screen.
And he will do that. Steve Pearce, you know, kind of deep out there at second, more up the middle. And so with the runner being held on, Maben is thinking, if I can push one by the mound out towards second base in this area right here, no way anybody's going to be able to make a play on it.
Fouls back the mid-90s fastball. Two strikes on Maben. Foul the other way, out of play. It's been 3-0 Rays, 3-1, then tied 3-3, then 6-3 Rays, 6-4, 6-5, and now it's 7-5 Rays, with a man on in the bottom of the 8th for Detroit. No outs, 2 strikes on Maben, who takes a high fastball. Would not chase. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Maben, 29 years old. Hit .267 with Atlanta last year. Tap foul. Count still 1-2. Matt Andriese worked 5 1/3. He's been charged with 4 of the runs. Ryan Webb faced 2 hitters. Erasmo Ramirez, an inning and 2/3, gave up a run. Now it's Eddie Romero. And Maben's battling him, down 1-2. Fouls it away one more time.
Just continue to attack. Foul pitches off. Romero, it's been fastball heavy, 1 breaking ball in there. And Maben, since he's come back from the injury, seeing the ball well. I mean, the numbers speak to that. And he said, you want to see the ball well, I'll give you a real good look at it. This
up
one.
close.
Yeah. Front row seat, buddy.
Well, if you've been comfortable before, you might not be so comfortable right now. Two and a ground ball to short. Miller. Pierce wide throw, but he kept his foot on the bag. So they get the lead out there. Upton forced.
I'll tell you what, how many different shots at a double play have the Rays had here tonight? You got the one turn by Evan Longoria. They've had a couple other opportunities to turn them, and it just not happened. Brad Miller wide and low with that throw, and a great job by Steve Pierce to be able to handle that throw and keep his foot on the bag. There you go, trying to get rid of it quick. It stays down and away. Nifty play there by Pierce.
And here's James McCann. Over to first, back in. Maben. Yeah, Iglesias hit into the double play in the 6th inning on the great stop by Longoria to start a 5-4-3 to get out of that, limiting the damage to just the run. Want to know the count to McCann. Two and 0. Ground ball. Try it again. Out at second. Out at first. 6-4-3. Miller, Pierce to Morrison. Practice makes perfect. And the Rays turn the double play. We're headed into the 9th. 7-5 Tampa Bay. First game of the 3-game series in Detroit between the Rays and the Tigers. 7-5, Rays up. Steve Pearce homered in the 8th inning to extend that 1-run lead into a 2-run lead. Couple of home runs by Miguel Cabrera tonight. Kevin Kiermaier a 3-run triple. Steven Souza Jr. opened the game with a home run. And we go to the 9th. Hank Conger will face Mark Lowe. And for Lowe, it's been a struggle. Conger jumps on the first pitch and fouls it up the right side. See the numbers on Lowe.
The 8-10 jumps out at you because that's just not been him the last couple of years.
Towering pop-up on the infield. It's Kinsler coming in from second base. So 1 out in the top of the 9th. Let's check in with Rich right now. Rich?
All right, guys, coming up immediately following this game, we will have our Rays Live post-game coverage brought to you by Checkers. You guys will be anchoring that coverage, and I'll be in the visitors' clubhouse. We'll hear from Kevin Cash. As we always do, we'll hear from the starter, Matt Andriese, and we'll hear from these guys who keep this offense rolling. 6th straight game with 6 or more runs, and guys, they're 4-1 in those previous 5.
Well, they have a 2-run lead right now, 7-5, with the top of the order, Steven Souza Jr. He has 2 hits, and he's been hit tonight, officially 2 for 3. This one skipping to the backstop.
Tried the corner and missed.
Just a little bit outside. Lowe essentially is a fastball slider guy with a great arm. And then to really be the 8th inning guy here. And it's been an issue. 1-1.
I got some really, really good news, Dwayne, for the postgame show.
Can't wait.
Really good news.
Yes.
It's Friday night in Detroit. That's fireworks night.
Oh, got to stay tuned for the fireworks.
We're hosting with the fireworks.
It's quite a backdrop.
Yeah. You may even hear what we have to say.
We could get some great fireworks shots.
I think we just show the fireworks. There's your show.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we're going to go tee up here, and we're going to let you watch the Rays offense the last few games.
That's
and then
right.
you just show them fireworks.
That's it.
That's what it's been.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
They would enjoy that more than listening to us drone on and on about
there's no question
stuff they
about
already
that.
watched.
Yeah, they've seen it already.
Yeah.
It's Friday night, getting late, fireworks, all fits. There's ball 3, full count on Souza Jr. Rays with a couple home runs, little fireworks of their own tonight. They have 60 home runs for the year, leading the major leagues at the start of play tonight with 58. They've added 2. Souza was hit on the right hand his last time up, but appears to be no worse for the wear with a couple of good swings here in the 9th. And ball 4. This summer, some of the biggest names in soccer converge on the United States for the 100th anniversary of one of the world's biggest tournaments. Coverage of the Copa America Centenario begins June 3rd across the networks of Fox Sports. Brad Miller against Lowe. 1 ball, no strikes. Miller walked, scored a run in the first. That followed the Souza Jr. home run. And Lowe over to first. Souza Jr. back in. Low last pitch 3 days ago. Got an inning, a scoreless inning in, walked 2. It's now 1-1. Tigers signed him as a free agent, splitting last year between Toronto and Seattle. He had a 196 earned run average in 57 games last year. Miller fouling that one right back into the screen. And it's 1-2. It's been Anibal Sanchez for 5+. 5 of the runs charged to the Tigers starter. Kyle Ryan pitched an inning, gave up a run. Drew Verhagen in for an inning. Alex Wilson 1 inning and 1 run, and now it's Mark Lowe. Again to first, Souza Jr. back in.
Yeah, and for Sanchez, that's now 6 out of 9 starts, 4 earned runs or more. And the Detroit pitching staff, specifically the starters, continue to struggle. Can you imagine a lockdown pitching staff with this offense? I mean,
it wouldn't be fun coming in here.
No, absolutely not. Really, the only guy performing right now, Jordan Zimmerman, has been good. Verlander showing flashes again.
Lowe strikes out Brad Miller on a pitch in the upper regions of the zone. Well, the Rays will see him in game 3 of this series.
That's a good one. Sunday afternoon matinee, Zimmerman, Archer.
That's what he's done. Brought in here to give this rotation some quality innings, and he's done that so far. 6-2. Now here's Evan. Longoria singled to open the 6th inning. That led to 3 runs and extended his hitting streak to 8.
I'll tell you what, because of the struggles of the Tigers controlling the running game, how much attention has been paid to Rays base runners here tonight?
And we're seeing it again with Souza at first base. First pitch, a strike to Longoria. Well, there has to come a point where it's a distraction to the pitcher.
I would think so. If you have to spend that much time and effort and energy worrying about the base runner, it will mess with your stuff to the plate. There's no doubt. You just cannot have a mind divided for that long and not make mistakes.
Longoria reaching for that slider, fouled it. So he's behind 0-2. Tigers in the bottom of the 9th due to have Iglesias, the number 9 hitter, then Kinsler and J.D. Martinez. Any deeper, you get to Cabrera. It's a ball and 2 strikes. And a foul-tipped strikeout back into the mid of McCann. 2 strikeouts in the inning. Rays leave a man and lead 7-5. The 9th inning from Comerica Park in Detroit. Alex Colomé gets the call again from the bullpen, and this has been what he's done in these situations.
He brings out an aggressiveness, an ability to attack the strike zone with quality pitches, and a starter's arsenal. And so, you know, in a safe situation, when it matters and it's time to lock it down, that's exactly what he's done. And you alluded to it, Dwayne, the last half inning. That's what you really want to do here and keep Miguel Cabrera in the on-deck circle. Period. 1, 2, 3.
Jose Iglesias 0 for 3 tonight. The number 9 hitter, the shortstop, will lead it off. Alex Colomé ready to go to work. And the pitch is a ball a little bit down and in. Iglesias hit into a big double play in the 6th inning to end that threat. Ground ball to short. Gets away from Miller. That will be an error, and boy, we talked earlier about giving this team extra outs, and there's an extra out.
There have been some missed opportunities to potentially turn some double plays that have gone by the wayside, and then this play right here. Colomé down in the zone, you get the ground ball. Looks like it's going to be pretty routine as Brad Miller is moving in. The ball comes up a little bit, got him right off the thumb.
Second error of the night charged to Miller. Here's Ian Kinsler. Kinsler 1 for 4 tonight. Pitch is down. Boy, this guy with great power and showing signs of being a better hitter overall. His home run total last year down a bit, but he came into this game 10th in the league in average, and the power is back. And he takes a big cut, and fouls it back. Whoa, 1-1.
He wants the ball middle in. You see how he's hitting off that back foot, that uppercut swing. Strike 1.
Liner, that's a foul ball. Just on the foul side of the left field line. Walking the tightrope.
I mean, at minimum, you're talking second and third, nobody out.
Yep.
And
well, here's the other thing that we both alluded to. Not only Cabrera on his own merits looming, but against Colomé, 3 for 4 with 2 home runs. So he's looming a little larger.
I'm going to go with Colomé's due.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're not talking about his hair.
Could be.
Cutting a miss. A big strikeout. Kinsler out of there. Boy, that is a big out after the near miss on the possible double. A strikeout of Ian Kinsler.
Expand ahead. Breaking ball hard. Got to start it early. Can't reach it.
1 out in the 9th with a man on. Now it's J.D. Martinez. Martinez, strikeout, ground ball to short, strikeout, ground ball to short. How about another ground ball to short? Pitch is upstairs. 1 ball, no strikes. Big cut and a miss, and he had a long ball on his mind. 1-1. First matchup for Colomé with J.D. Martinez. Cut and a miss.
That pitch is so nasty. He throws it hard, 88, 89 miles an hour. Comes out of the hand the same plane as the fastball. And then it just takes a wicked, right there, sharp late break. I don't know why you don't go back to it too.
The 1-2. Oh, he got him. He went around that time. With 2 great pitches by Colomé to strike out J.D. Martinez.
Well, he went with the previous pitch, good. This one's even better. He takes it further out of the zone, further down, and he gets the chase. So, you know, with 2 strikes, you've got to be able to cover that hard fastball. You come with the breaking ball, you know you got to get it started early, and you just cannot hold up.
Well, the Rays talk it over on the mound. Colomé with Conger and Morrison. Miguel Cabrera due up with a runner at first and 2 outs. Cabrera homered to right in the 3rd and homered to center field in the 7th inning. And what a wallop that was off the camera shed out there in center field. Part of the batter's eye out there. And here's Cabrera again. And the pitch is a strike.
Was it?
Well, Jerry Meals thought it was. That's good enough for me.
Yep. Miguel Cabrera got an idea that strike zone does not agree with Mr. Meals.
Foul back. 0-2. Colomé trying to close it out. The starting pitchers are still the pitchers of record in this game. 0-2 count. Here we go. Base hit into right. Iglesias is going to go to third. The throw's there, offline. And so it's first and third. Cabrera with an 0-2 pitch takes it the other way into right field.
Now keeps it alive. That ball, I'm sure that Colomé wanted that a little bit further down, but it was down enough that you're not going to be able to lift that pitch. But Cabrera is so proficient at going the other way. And now pinch runner, Cabrera comes out after a big night. The Rays 1 out away.
Andrew Romine will be the pinch-a-penny pinch runner. And the hitter will be Victor Martinez. And we know he has long been a nemesis to the Rays. 2 hits tonight. First and third. Two gone. There's a strike at the knees. Starts him with a fastball. Iglesias reached on the air. He's at third. Romine, the pinch runner, running for Cabrera after the 0-2 base hit. Down and in. It's 1-1. You get into this part of the order. Really, you get to the top of the order, and it's not easy. You got Kinsler and J.D. Martinez on strikes after Iglesias reached on the air. And then he got ahead of Cabrera, 2 strikes. He just stroked it into right for a single, setting up the first and third. The 1-1. Did he go on the pitch down? He did not. Chris Conroy on the call at third.
I don't think this was even that close. Starts to go, yeah, not even.
Two and one the count. Colomé and a ground ball right side. Rays are going to win it. Throw to first, and the Rays win this one. It's a 7-5 final as the Rays take game 1 of this series from the Detroit Tigers. It was Brad Miller on the right side of the infield who made that pickup, and the throw to first to get Martinez. And so the Rays win it 7-5. After sweeping the Toronto Blue Jays. The Rays move to 20-19, a game over 500. They've won 4 in a row now, putting this 7-5 victory into the books. Andriese will get the win. He is 3-0. Sanchez, the losing pitcher, dropping his record to 3-5.